smokies. You'll hear we've got some dogs barking in the background and people are cutting their grass, so we're all at home. But what is very exciting is that we are now going to start to control not only our camera, but we're also going to start thinking about what happens outside of our camera, and we are going to start to observe light, which is quite a big step, and this is where you guys are going to start to become creative again by manipulating light. So if I compare light to a artist, I almost said a canvas. When artists start their painting, they've got a blank canvas. And as photographers, we do the same thing as an artist. We obviously work with our subject matter, which will be our sketch of our painting, and then eventually we start to add light. We change the direction of our subject matter, and immediately when you start getting highlights and shadows, that is when magic starts to happen, and when you start to get some volume, three-dimensionality. You can even control your light in such a way that your subject matter is soft or your subject matter is sharp, and then we can go as far as going so dramatic that you can actually physically give an emotional feel to your photograph and change the meaning of your photograph 100%. And in the same lighting circumstance, with using two different lighting techniques, I can give a total different meaning to one shot, do exactly the same shot, and it's going to be much more dramatic and harder. Okay guys, so in the situation that we are in, me and Liezel decided to quickly do a quick tutorial for you guys in a typical home environment. We are in our lounge downstairs. We've got a lacquer big window that we can use for nice directional light. So immediately when you work with a big light source, and it's a continuous light source, so in other words, when I work with continuous light, I can see what the effect is going to be on my subject matter. So we've got a big light source, and typically a big light source is going to be very flattering on skin, and it's going to give you soft shadows. Even though there is quite a lot of contrast, the change over from your highlight to your shadow will be quite soft. And that is exactly why you guys are doing this project, is so that you work with directional light. So in the project, I'm asking you guys, first of all, to place your subject matter or your model on a 90-degree angle from the window. So in other words, if I change myself and I just turn and I look at the camera straight, typically what will happen is that the one side of my face will be lit up, and then the other half of my face will be in shadow. So that's where we've got the absence of light. So if I just change my subject and I turn my subject to a 45-degree angle, it is going to have an effect just by moving an inch. It's going to have an effect on what's going to happen to the shadow of the face. So I hope you guys can see it, but the idea here is that you've got a highlight side, and because the model has turned to a 45-degree angle, there's going to be some light that spills onto the left of the face as well. In other words, to lit up both the model's eyes. Yeah, so that's the two main things. I'm going to show you guys the next one now. Okay guys, so we quickly spoke about 90 degrees. We went into 45 degrees. My dog is on my lap. That's all part of being home. Okay, obviously my light is going to change. Now if I ask my model to turn totally away from the light, with it back towards the camera, obviously the back side is going to go darker, and then if the model turns toward the camera, that is going to create a different look as well. Something that you guys can maybe try out for your first project, you are only working with natural light, and you are going to use window light. Now what happens, because you are working with directional light, you automatically have contrast. But if you've got a place that is quite lit up, you might struggle to get a lot of contrast. So one of the things we can do, and we talk about black bounce, is that we use a black reflector. So Liezel is going to bring in the black reflector, and then she brings it quite close to me, the model. So what will happen, and you guys will experience that when you take your photos, obviously black absorbs light, and then it's going to make your shadow area on the face even darker. So this is a very effective way to create more contrast in your portrait. So I hope you guys can see the effect. The closer the black to the face, the darker your shadow is going to be, guys. And you don't always see it while you are busy looking at your subject matter, but you definitely get an effect when you work with a camera. So talking about the cameras, let's quickly look at how you guys are going to set up your camera for your window light portrait. Okay guys, we're going to start with the Nikon. First thing you guys please need to make sure is that you guys are going to shoot in manual mode. We are out of all the semi-automatic mode, so that's fantastic. Okay, when you start to set up your camera, remember that what we spoke about during the week. You are first going to decide on your ISO number. Now because we've got quite low light, we are going to be at least on an ISO of 400. So I'm just going to quickly set the Nikon so that we are on 400. Okay, and we are busy with portraiture. My next decision is what f-stop number to use. So to confirm that, guys, I am going to zoom in because it's a portrait. I want to work on at least a 50mm to make sure that my model's face stay in proportion, or that the perspective is correct. Okay, so when I am on a 50 or 55mm focal length, my smallest f-stop number, but the biggest hole, is going to be on this camera, f5.3. Okay, so then according to my f-stop number, my next step is going to be to measure my light, make sure that my light meter goes onto 0. So at this stage, my light meter looks as if it will do the job. Okay, so that's on the Nikon. Okay guys, so when we look at the Fuji, one thing you guys must be sure of is that all your settings is out of automatic. So we're going to start on our shutter dial. Guys, make sure it's off automatic and that you put your dial into T mode for time, and then you will be able to use your control dials to change your shutter numbers. Okay, then ISO number, same as with Nikon, I am gonna just change my ISO number to 400. So the camera is set up so that it reacts the same as an optical viewfinder. In other words, I won't be able to see my exposure control, and then I'm going to turn my F ring until I am, let's just zoom in, I'm there. On this camera I can open up until F4. So that's going to be my starting point, guys. And then the same as with the Nikon, I press in my shutter button, I look at my light meter, and I am going to change my settings until my light meter goes to 0. And it was totally underexposed. And I'm going to open up until my light meter sits on 0. Okay, again, that's my starting point, and I'm going to take my shot. Okay, Canon, guys. So I'm starting with the more advanced Canon. First of all, again, going into manual mode. So you press down your button, and you go into manual mode. Okay, and I can see all my settings on the back of the screen. So again, first thing guys, always set your ISO number. It's already on your ISO number, and that should be on 400. My f-stop, if I change my f-stop, I'm going to use this back dial, and I want to start on f5.6. Let's just zoom in. That. So f5.6, and then same as what we've done earlier the week, I'm now going to set my shutter number according to my f number, and I'm going to look at my light meter, and I'm going to dial until the light meter sits on 0, and I'm going to take my first shot. Okay, so just to quickly come back to the more entry level Nikon and Canon, just to confirm, if you change your f number, what you need to do, I'm just scared that some of you guys might forget, if I turn my dial, I can only change my shutter number. So if you want to change your f number, you need to press the button at the top of the camera that's got a little aperture sign there and a plus and minus. So if I press that button, and then I turn my dial, then my f number is going to change. So on the Canon, I've got a very old one here. I'm not going to be able to show you because I think the batteries are gone. But same thing guys, your dial sits with your point finger, control dial sits there. If I'm going to turn that dial, it's going to turn my shutter or change my shutter number, and immediately when I want to change my f number, I press on the AV plus minus button, and it sits very close to your thumb, and that is where you will be able to change your f number. Okay, so that's it for the cameras. Okay guys, just to quickly explain to you the setup. For this lighting circumstance, I need to work on a tripod. I think I'm going to push the ISO a little bit. I just want to get to the ISO button. So that's my front dial. I am going to make it ISO 400. Alright. Automatically I'm working on a f4, and I can immediately see that my exposure is too dark if I look at my light meter. Okay, so I am now going to open up my light, or adding light, double the amount of light that's going to go into the camera by changing my shutter number. Okay, so I think that's about it. It looks a little bit overexposed in Liezel's face, so I am going to go and make it a little bit darker, and I am going to change my white balance. It's a little bit warm, and I'm working with the Kelvin meter. Just that side, press there, and I'm going to go a little bit colder. There we go. I say. Okay, so for the first shot, Liezel is looking straight at the camera. It is quite a complicated scenario to start working with people. I know you guys are going to work with your mothers and brothers and sisters, so it makes it a little bit easier. But the secret is to look your model in their eyes, communicate with them directly, make sure that they know what they need to do, otherwise they feel very confused. So Liezel, I'm going to ask you to just bring your chin down a little bit. There we go. And I am going to zoom in a little bit, just like that. And that is quite a nice dramatic shot. And I'm going to look in my viewfinder, make sure that my exposure is correct. I'm going to go a little bit darker, and I'm going to take my first photograph. Okay, so now I've taken my 90-degree shot. Liezel, I'm going to ask you now to look a little bit more towards the light, a little bit back towards me, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. Thank you, and a little bit more. And there we go. Okay, and then I'm going to ask you just to bring your hair over your ear, bring it forward, that's it, great stuff. Turn a bit more towards the camera, and there we go. Pull down your curl. Pull down your curl. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to put my focus point on Liezel's eyes, and I am going to take my 90-degree shot. There we go, and that's it. So guys, just for interest's sake, I'm going to do exactly the same thing, but instead of shooting color, I am going to go into black and white, and I think that is going to be aesthetically maybe a little bit more of a pleasing shot. When you take away color, there you go, and I'm actually going to go a little bit darker with my exposure. Can you move a little bit closer to the light source? There we go, that's actually quite nice. Beautiful, Liezel. It's nice when you've got somebody in your life that is photogenic. And here we go, and 1, 2, 3, taking the photograph, beautiful, and then I want you to look in the light, and bring your chin down, 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 and there we go, and that is beautiful. A little bit more towards the light. No, yourself towards the light, not as much. There we go, and look back at me, and there we go. Awesome. Taking the, there we go. Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. Wonderful. Okay, and now turn with your back towards the light, and then look into the light. There, into the light. And bring your chin down, 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 and down, and then turn a little bit away from the light, just like that, and then bring up your eyes towards the light. So I've got nice concentrated light on Liezel's eyes at the moment. Just focus, and I might even crop this in post a little bit. And a little bit friendlier, and there we go. Awesome. I'll crop out that white line there, and I'm going to take the same shot and put the camera back into color. Okay, and I'm going to make this a little bit lighter, just like that, and my light meter is on -3. The fact for that is, or the reason for that is because I've got quite a lot of dark tones in the scene. I'm measuring towards the face, and this is where you guys might struggle a little bit. So guys, remember, you are exposing for the highlight. So I'm going to take the shot, and there we go, and just for in case, and here we go again. So guys, to confirm, my shutter speed is on a 15th of a second. Remember, it is too slow. You cannot shoot this out of the hand. You need to work on a tripod for this specific exercise. Okay, thank you so much, Liezel.